King David and Apostle Paul. Um, so continuing in that, as I'm being led by the Spirit of God, I truly do not agree with King David and all this stuff, And many Christians, they will not reveal to you that this guy is not to really be looked up to, if I'm being real. Because yes, he was anointed king and all this stuff, but overall he was a snake and a murderer. And he slept with his best friend uh, Uriah's wife, Bathsheba. And King David is not to just be looked up to and all this stuff, because this dude is a snake. And, this is something you have to really get honest with God about when it comes to these people in the Bible, because God dealt with these certain individuals on these different levels. And I mean, man, it's deep, because I do not agree with no King David. I don't care if he was a king. Like, this dude was still a snake and a murderer. And we already know, too, that no murderer is overall entering heaven either. So what I'm basically telling you is that, this stuff is something you have to truly get honest with God about, especially if you are close to God and God has interest in you or has picked you overall. You got to open up to God about this stuff, and many of you may or may not know about King David like that. But I'm telling you now, this dude was a snake and a murderer. And there's much more into this guy, King David. And then Apostle Paul, the same thing, getting back to him. I do not agree with him as far as looking up to Apostle Paul, because this dude was a murderer as well, and this dude was persecuting God's people. And see, that's the thing. This stuff is deeper than being a Christian. That's what you got to understand too. Because certain Christians will inherit heaven, but majority of Christians will be going to hell, in other words, places, But this is not really necessarily about that. I'm just being led by God's Spirit, because once again, I cannot quench his Spirit. But anyhow, as well, I do not look up to no Apostle Paul. And I don't care if his name was changed from Saul to Paul for the glory of God or anything in that nature. I do not care about that, because this dude was still a snake. I mean, I'm sorry, he was a murderer. He was a murderer. King David was a snake, but he was a snake and a murderer. But Paul was a murderer, and he persecuted these innocent Christians. And these were God's people, especially around that time. So it's like, God, I do not truly agree with this stuff, and I do have a pretty good intimacy and pretty deep relationship with God and Jesus, so this stuff is deep, and that's why I'm being led by God even the now of speaking this, because this is a real matter. And I do not agree with no Paul, because you got to understand too, it talks about how Paul got caught up to the third heaven. And some of you may or may not be familiar with that, but I'm just letting you know about the Spirit of God. And he was going all up into all these realms of heaven, and God was taking him up. It said in or out of the body, he did not know. But regardless of how he got taken up to the third heaven, he still got taken up by God. So God the Father, I don't agree with God the Father about this, if I'm being real with you, because Paul was once again a murderer. And then he gets knocked off the horse and all this stuff. So, many people may be like, oh, well, he can just easily repent, or he can easily though. We can't overlook how he murdered innocent Christians. It was numerous. It was multiple Christians. It wasn't just murder overall is just, it will keep you out of heaven. That's the thing. You will not be inheriting heaven, committing that. But I'm just telling you, I'm just, illustrating it by the Spirit of God of what took place. He killed multiple Christians on top of that. So, and this was not righteous. Once again, this was not in no righteous manner or, and yeah, I mean, the story gets deep, but once again, it's deeper than the story because, I don't agree with this stuff is what I'm basically telling you. And, these Christians, once again, they will not open your eyes to this matter because once again, they are not spiritual and many Christians will be in hell and other worse places, according to God the Father, and where he places these people. And I know this stuff by the Spirit of God because I truly am spiritual and I do have a pretty deep intimacy with God and Jesus. I have a good relationship with them. I do, I'm not no hypocritical person, and anybody knows me or who knows me knows that I was never a hypocrite. I will never be that. And that is, what also keeps God using me and just, into this spirituality that I have with him. It keeps him using me. And not only that, revelation and much more stuff comes with my relationship with God and Jesus. So yeah, I do not overall agree with, once again, King David and Apostle Paul. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this. But yeah, I mean, overall, these two dudes were murderers. So yeah, this stuff is not a game, and this is something you have to truly go to God about and get the revelation for yourself and open up to God about this. Because yeah, I do not agree with this stuff.